Good evening, familia. This is Ray Collazo, the founder and host of the Founding Translation Bomba Live simulcast. Founding Translation is a show that stacks truth about politics and today's hottest issues. And Bomba Live is the perpetual virtual public celebration. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special Autism Is A Superpower edition of our show here. We want to send a very strong message during this show that not only autism is a superpower, but we want to provide you the tools and the inspiration to help find the loved ones in your life, their superpower in their life, regardless where they are on the spectrum. Later on the show in Bomba Live News, we're going to get into some of the hottest political headlines that Puerto Ricans are involved in, including Don Benito on the top rope at WrestleMania in Tampa. The latest heartbreaking news about the love life of two major Latino celebrities. And later on in the show, my friends, big news as it relates to Bomba Live 2, the virtual Puerto Rican celebration coming up Saturday, June 12th on Bomba Live social media platforms. If you thought Bomba Live 1 was incredible, Bomba Live 2 is going to be bigger and better. And speaking of what could make this even better, I had to bring her out the bullpen. Edward Sugar Diaz is the greatest reliever in Major League Baseball, Boricua. So when I bring out a stopper from the bullpen to really put a capper on this show and really bring not only a great perspective as an autism parent advocate, but also just a great personality and someone that is a big part of the Bomba Life community, Maryanell Agosto. Fresh off vacation, Maryanell. Buenas noches, mija. How are you?
Buenas noches, ¿cómo estamos?
I know everyone's happy to see you, Maryanell. Fresh off vacation. We're so excited to be part of this conversation. And Maryanell, you came to us, not only from your education advocacy work in general, but your appearances were centered last year. We dedicated last year's sort of awareness campaign around autism. And this year now we've kind of taken it to another level, really talking about how to empower our loved ones on the spectrum. So we wanted to make sure that you were part of this conversation. So let people know a little bit about yourself and why you think this conversation is so timely today.
Thank you so much, first and foremost, for bringing me back. For those of you who may know me, my name is Maryanell Agosto, native from Puerto Rico, mother of two beautiful children, one who is in the spectrum. My son, Almani, is 13, and he is a beautiful child who was diagnosed in the spectrum at 2.5 years of age. It's been over 10 years that we've been working with him, for him, with our advocates, with our support system to ensure that he lives the quality life that I, as a mom, feel is so important, for our children. So I'm here to, answer any questions or any concerns. I'm here to also ask questions to our panelists. And I am here if any parent needs to hear more about how to go about handling their child in the spectrum, as well as their siblings. So, Rafael, I think it's very important that you bring this topic. It's how our loved ones are handling it, because it seems to be a topic that's not discussed as often as it needs to be. So thank you so much.
Well, that's what we kind of go there in a good way here on Bomba Live and Found Translation, and that's why I brought this issue to the table, because, if it, in just our extended family network, a cousin here, a nephew here, a little cousin here, a friend here, and it's obviously a prevalent issue in our community, and it's something that we don't get enough spaces for us to just have these conversations, particularly within the Latino community. So that's why we're dedicated to this issue. And again, it's about empowering and tapping into their greatness. Speaking of people in a family that have really helped their loved ones tap into the superpowers and really a shining example of what's right with our community, we wanted to bring to the stage really kind of the poster child for the kind of family and the kind of example we want to set for our loved ones in our community. And these people, since the last time on Bomba, have kind of become like celebrities. So another A-list guest, Miguel and Iliana Figueroa from Toy Quest 101 is in the building. What's up, family?
Yay!
What's up, guys? Thank you for having us back on.
It's so awkward when you're friends with people, but then you want to ask for their autograph because they're like famous and you're like a friend, but you're a fan. It's very awkward. So I appreciate the way y'all handle it and sometimes me being so enthusiastic, but Miguel and Iliana, people don't know, you got to check out Toy Quest 101 on social media, but particularly their YouTube channel. Let people know, Miguel, let's just start with what's Toy Quest 101 and where did the Toy Quest 101 journey begin for you two?
Yeah, so Toy Quest 101 is a pop culture review channel that inspires kids with autism and special needs. And we do that with love of toys, and we do that with the help of celebrity guests that come onto the show to help inspire people around the world. The show started about when Iliana, a couple years ago, was watching a YouTube channel, and I turned to her and said, "Hey, you should do your own YouTube show." She turned off the tablet. She got real sad, and she said she couldn't do it because she had autism. So as a parent, kind of broke my heart because I wasn't expecting that to come from her. I grew up in pop culture, as you could see in the background. So at the time, I was finishing up my basement, and I put a table up, and I wanted to show her that she could do whatever she set her mind to. So we did our first episode. And during that first episode, Iliana started doing a lot of things that we struggled with growing up with autism. She was talking more. She was more engaged. She was putting her sentences together. She was trying to pronounce things a lot better. It was just a totally different person almost, because she was so excited to do something that she thought she couldn't do. So when the episode ended, me and her mom kind of looked at each other like, what just happened, right? Because we were so excited about her. And as a family, we decided to keep going on with the show in hopes that we inspire others. So moving forward to today, we have over 55 million views. We have the YouTube award. We have celebrities that come onto the show, and we've been inspiring people around the world, right? Yeah. It's been a really interesting journey, not only for us, but for everybody else who watches.
Well, we're so inspired by both of you, and it's, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this, Maryanell. You know, this kind of love, this kind of affection with family. Let me ask you a question. One of the things that, you know, every time I connect with these people, I get a little emotional about it, to be honest with you, because it's just so inspiring.
I am a little teary myself. I'm trying to keep it together.
I know, and it's my job to keep it together. So let's try. We're going to do it together, Maryanell. So one of the things that, and look, I'm as an ally, right? One of the things that we've had on different platforms, conversations, especially when the month was coming up, and now we're in Autism Awareness Month, was there's a lot of conversation around how we even talk about autism in that sense, right? So it's like, yeah, awareness, appreciation, acceptance. No, we want to the spectrum communities now. We are empowered. So when I say the phrase, brother, autism is a superpower, what does that mean to you and Iliana?
I'll let Iliana answer that for you. Go ahead.
Autism is my superpower because it's not just a disability. It's the ability to do things differently, and that's something special to me.
Oh. Maryanell, the stage is yours, my friend. When you hear that kind of inspiration, when you hear that kind of empowerment, that's where we have to get to for all of our families, right? Because what Miguel just said was very telling. And again, we really appreciate y'all sharing your this journey with us, because it's inspiring so many people, because all of us on some level are struggling with how to empower our family members, our loved ones, not because we don't care, not because they don't have these incredible gifts, but just because, we're not gonna, very few of us are trained clinically. We're gonna have a clinical expert on second to support our family. So Maryanell, tell us a little bit about your journey with your son and how this relates so well with Miguel and Iliana's story.
So I think my journey, it's a little bit different because my son is more affected. So every time I get to hear someone in the spectrum talk, it's very emotional. And I'm also extremely proud that we are able to connect, because it gives me an opportunity to get to know you, and by getting to know you, I get to know my son a little bit. So it's thrilling to hear that an idea, a concept just grew, and with that growing, Iliana grows with it as well, and and she finds her niche, and that's and to me that's amazing. In some countries, folks in the spectrum are called people of determination, because our children, our folks are so determined when they find that niche, when they find that interest, that they get to where they need to get, and even beyond, because they're so determined, because they're so interested, invested in what it is that they feel it's theirs, right? So Iliana, I have to jump in and ask, what is your message to other children in the spectrum?
My message is believe in yourself. You are not alone, and move forward and never give up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Wow. So touching, and people are already giving us a lot of love, credit, salutations to the family here on the chat on this very special Autism is a Superpower edition. of the show. Maryanell, I'm going to turn tables to you, and I'm going to ask the same question. When I say the phrase autism is a superpower, what does that phrase, how does that impact you and your son and y'all's family's journey?
To us, we're still exploring what my son's niche is. And when I hear the word superpower, I hear and feel how his existence has given me a better way of living, a better way of seeing humanity and treating other people. It gives you more awareness, not only of other folks in the spectrum as you see them in the streets or as you come across them, but just more awareness about people in general. The patience skyrockets because you understand that patience is not a derivative of love, but it's just a manifestation of how you as a parent need to step up to that level. So you are the parent that your child needs. So for me, autism as a superpower has definitely given me the power and has empowered me to continue to provide awareness and continue to kind of sort of be that person that is supportive of other parents, is supportive of other children in the spectrum. So my son's abilities, as Iliana highlighted them beautifully earlier, has also given me an ability to just be better. And that's how I define how autism as a superpower has given me power to just be better.
No, and talk about empowering. All jokes aside, y'all have become like nationally for this. It's incredible. Over 100,000 YouTube subscribers. And, you know, I mean, son boricos que criaron muy bien. They're very humble. They don't want to show off.
America, you know what?
Every media outlet I can find, WWE celebrities. We're talking about Bad Bunny ahorita, pero these people, I mean, you know, you've got a lot of attention, a lot of amazing. So how was even since the last time you were on the show during Christmas, the last 3 or 4 months been, and what is, for lack of a better term, how is the fame of this project? What lesson has this taught you about how you can impact people you may never even met? And literally, you're impacting people, Iliana, all over the world. So, Miguel and Iliana, talk to us about that part of this journey. It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's very rewarding, right? Because, you know, we didn't think that it would blow up to begin with, and then it blew up. But now we're, like you said, we were just on Good Morning America. We were on ABC. We were on 6 ABC. We're on, like, all these big media platforms, especially now during Autism Acceptance Month, right? So it's been incredible because we see the comments, right? We see the people reaching out in similar situations or looking for that hope or inspiration, and now they see it and they're looking at us towards that, right? So it's been really great journey. It's been a lot of time consuming, right? Especially this month. This month we have an episode every single week, and we've had more celebrities on in this month than we have in any other month, right? So we launched a couple episodes with new celebrities. Today we launched an episode with a company from overseas that sent us a statue for us to review, Spider-Gwen. That came out today. Amazing. It was a gift towards them for us because they believed in what we were doing. They wanted to support, you know, Autism Acceptance Month, and they thought we were a great outlet for it. Next week, we're going to have, a duo with a collaboration with another YouTuber that does statue reviews. And then the following week, we have another celebrity guest on to kind of end the month of Autism Acceptance Month. But with all this media attention and stuff, it just gives us a little bit more of a push to try to do more, right? Because we want to inspire as many people as we can. And the biggest thing for us is, it's not only about the awareness or the acceptance, it's about inclusion, right? So we want to make sure that, you know, one of our things was to, you know, have that inclusion piece on YouTube, right? And now all these other YouTubers are popping up that have autism, or special needs and stuff. And it's incredible because we're seeing it. And one of our goals is to be on a bigger platform, right? Like, you know, on these pop culture review channels like The Mandalorian, right? we would love to be a cameo on The Mandalorian and start that.
Speaking into existence,
of
Baby Yoda in the house.
To have autism on it.
That's fantastic.
That
Well,
awesome.
It's incredible because my sons are huge fans of the show. And I'll be honest with it. It has nothing to do with this part of the story. They just think y'all are good at. It's a great toy show on YouTube. It's a great show. It's interactive, and they love the wrestling, and some of the collaborations you do. So it really speaks to the superpower because on some level, it's it's incredible, but on some level, it's not incredible. It's a young woman who's got a lot of talent and has a particular passion for toys and sharing with the world. So just so incredible. Speaking of young people doing incredible things, when we come back, we're going to talk to another parent advocate that is part of the inspiration along with Maryanell, Miguel, and Iliana for today's episode, Jennifer Hutcheson, and an occupational therapist who's going to answer some of our clinical questions that a lot of the audience members have, Alicia Stufoso. So some of these young people that are part of Miguel and Iliana's family network in Puerto Rico, Carielli Axel, they produce some amazing YouTube videos. So we're going to hear a Puerto Rican school lesson. Then we come back. More with our credible panel here on the special Autism Is A Superpower edition of Found Translation. Bomba Live.
Bienvenido a la clase de español boricua, parte 2. Mira tú, no seas caripelao.
Ok, cógelo suave que te va a dar un patatú.
Primera lección. En Puerto Rico no decimos wow, decimos a rayo.
A rayo.
También decimos diache o qué brutal. Próxima palabra, algarete.
Algarete.
Utilicémosla en una oración. El gobierno está al garete.
Ese profe está al garete.
¿Qué tú dijiste?
No, nada, profe, mala mía.
Exacto. Tú no eres guapito. Próxima palabra. ¡Ay, bendito!
¿Qué significa eso?
No sé, pero se tiene que decir por lo menos 100 veces al día. Ahora viene el bono. Completa esta famosa palabra boricua.
Profe, yo no puedo decir esa palabra, yo soy un niño.
Pues tiene F.
Ay, bendito, este profe está tostado.
Maryanell, like a real Puerto Rican, talk to us, girl. Come on.
I love it. Yo estaba como decimos en Puerto Rico, me da de la risa.
Seguro que sí, no, claro.
They got a future. They got a future.
They're huge. They're going to come back on the show, and Shirley Santos, our Puerto Rican executive producer for Puerto Rico Talent. I'm assigning you to get them back for Bomba Live too. So we're doing this on air, and she's family with Miguel and Iliana. So we have some other people we want to bring into the conversation. That through Clubhouse, other platforms we've connected with. Really excited to have Jennifer Hutcheson with us, a parent advocate, and Alicia Stufoso, an occupational therapist. Iliana and Miguel will be right back, but we're just really excited to have Jennifer. And Jennifer's shy, so we got to give her like the Bomba Live saludo. So, hey, Jennifer! You're here!
Wepa, right?
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that video was the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Son chulito, ¿verdad que sí?
Oh my gosh, ay bendito. That's like my favorite sayings.
Well, you got to say it 99 more times before midnight. So,
Exactly.
Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the show. We also want to welcome Alicia Stufoso, an occupational therapist you brought to the table. And for those that are on Clubhouse, please support the Latinos Do Clubhouse room because myself, Alicia, and Jennifer are regular contributors on there. We're the moderators. Some of us founded it. And every Friday at 12 o'clock tomorrow, I got to figure out what our topic is tomorrow. But anyway, we always have great conversations on Clubhouse. So, but that's how we all met each other, Jennifer, specifically. And so I want you to begin this segment of the show by reflecting, Jennifer, on the beginning part of the conversation we just had, thinking about Maryanell, Miguel, Iliana's stories. When I say the phrase to you, Jennifer, autism is a superpower, which you brought to the table, that phrase a few weeks ago, what does it mean to you and your family's journey?
Yeah, thank you, Ray. When we start thinking about autism as a superpower, I think it gets a little complicated for me because I know it's a very personal experience. It's a very every one of our different paths and walks through autism is very different. Our kids are also very unique in their path. So I kind of actually was steering away because in the beginning, my son AJ, he is almost going to be 5 years old. And so in the beginning, of course, hearing his diagnosis of autism was definitely overwhelming, did definitely not feel like a superpower. I felt at a loss. I felt at a loss for him. And so it really just became something that I had to work towards. And I think Maryanell mentioned it, that it really is more, I think, when we say superpower, I almost feel like it's more for the parent, because my son, he is verbal to a degree, but he's little and he can't express, or he can't, whether it's verbally or in any other way, he can't express to me what, if he feels that his autism hinders him or if he feels empowered. So it's just really from what I see. And I think when I say superpower, I think more of in terms of when I see AJ, every little thing that he does is amazing to me, is just wonderful, we just celebrate every last little thing. But you know what? I have a 12-year-old son, and every little thing that he did, I celebrated those things too. So I think it's just being a parent and really uplifting our kids and saying, you know what, they all have superpowers. We just are trying to find a different way to find those superpowers.
It's so interesting, Jennifer, because, and this is actually the first time I've ever seen you on video. We've always connected with each other on verbal audio with the Clubhouse app, and that I've even seen how AJ's empowered you over the 6 weeks we've known each other, because in the beginning, like, it was even, you were even shy to even talk about your story and kind of react to comments or questions that we all had, because I wanted to, thinking ahead, I wanted to empower you in sharing that journey and showing leadership. And fast forward just a few weeks, and you're showing leadership in so many ways. So you're absolutely right. It's not only helping our children and our loved ones tap into their own inner greatness and how they would express that, but also they're inspiring us to push ourselves, because I'm sure the parents would attest they never thought they had it in them to have gotten this far. Maryanell, when you hear Jennifer's story, obviously Miguel and Iliana, but Jennifer's story, I mean, talk to me. I know there's a lot of synergy there with your family's journey.
Absolutely. So there's some years difference, but I was able to go back in time and go back to when my son was 5. And it definitely didn't feel like a superpower then. And I agree with you that, for kids that are more affected, and that's the word I like to use. There's no such thing as categorizing for me. It's, you're either more affected, you're less affected. And, my son, being more affected than some of his peers at 5, it was very difficult to even think like what kindergarten was going to look like. Potty training, it takes way longer than your neurotypical child. Understanding what that educational future is going to look like, and you start thinking of how that future is going to look like, and at 5 it was petrifying. So Jennifer, I was able to go back in time and feel, some of the things that you were saying, because I was there. My son was 5 at one point in time.
I want to get Alicia Stufoso in this conversation, an occupational therapist, and actually works with Jennifer's family. Alicia, where do we go from here? I know that there's parents and people, adults that just have so many questions. They don't even know where to begin sometimes. And everyone's story is different. Everyone's family and everyone's journey is different. So as an occupational therapist, where do you start when the parent comes to you and is starting their own journey from the beginning? And I'm sure there's a lot of different paths here that you've heard, different stories that are very relatable to your experience as an occupational therapist.
Right. Well, I guess number one is take a breath, especially if you're just starting that journey, because it's so overwhelming. There's so much emotion and involved in that very beginning. But one thing I can say, and I would say this is any step of the development, I would say the same thing to a parent that I say to a lot of therapists if I'm mentoring them or giving them suggestions, is watch and listen. because a tendency is to rush in and try to fix things. Whether you're the therapist or the parent, you want to fix things. But, these things aren't broken. These children aren't broken. They just have a different way of doing things. And that's what Iliana was saying earlier. And, they already touched on everything I was going to say, I think. But, you need to watch and see what has meaning for your child, whether your child is verbal, nonverbal, something has meaning for your child. How can you engage them and engage with them? And, it's so funny because I made some notes about some points I wanted to talk about. And when Miguel, without even hearing Miguel and Iliana speak, and yet that's exactly what they did. Iliana came and was disappointed because she couldn't partake in something. And Miguel stepped in and said, okay, this is what she's interested in. I can engage in this with her, and look at what it developed into. So again, I think just watching, listening, taking a breath, so important in the beginning, especially, but at any point in the development.
I want to make sure Miguel, I'm sure, had a thought on this on the beginning of Alicia's conversation.
Yeah, I kind of got goosebumps because, Iliana's 13 now, right? And we had her when I was 20 years old. So I was young, right? So when she was diagnosed with autism at a very early age, we cried, but because we didn't really know what we were getting into, right? We weren't educated on it. And then we started to educate ourselves on it and see, right? Iliana was delayed with everything. She did not talk till a very late age. I think it was around 5 years old. Jennifer, I know your child's 5 now. And listen, long story short, I remember being at a school and there was the speech therapist. My biggest thing with her was I need her to communicate with me because I was scared. I didn't know when she was hurt. I didn't know when there was something wrong. I didn't know that. And that I hated that, right? It was just a real gut feeling that I just hated. And I remember I flipped out on that lady, poor lady. And my mom looked at me like, Miguelito, I could do better, right? Because she wanted me to be in the kitchen with her and show her what a spatula is. And I'm like, I don't want her to know what a spatula is. I don't want her to cook for me. I want her to call me dad. Iliana's first word was ball. I have home videos of me, and you hear me in the background saying ball, because I was so in love with the fact that she said ball. And like Jennifer said, you want to celebrate, or what somebody said it was, but you want to celebrate the little things. When she said ball, I celebrated that like she won the World Series. It was the craziest thing in the world, right? But to Alicia's point, right? You got to try to, this is my advice for parents, right? A lot of parents come to me, hey, my kid isn't talking, I'm scared. You got to find something that your kid, right? Because you're their biggest support system. It's not these therapists, it's not the doctors, they help, right? But you're their biggest support system because you're the right? And my biggest thing is find something that they love and just fly with it. So when I saw that Iliana really wanted to be on YouTube, right? And I didn't know until I asked, right? I wanted to fly with that. Look how far it's helped her development, but it's also helped her, with other things that are outside of our bubble that's helping her mature as a person, right? So when all this happens and these parents call me, there's kids that love music, right? They love music. Use that to help them talk, to help them get out of their bubble. Iliana, listen, we put Iliana from violin, from piano to baseball. And I felt like I was failing as a parent because although she did okay in it, it wasn't her niche. Then all of a sudden she got into swimming and she's a superstar. And now, we're constantly going to swimming and she loves it, but that's her niche. So we're, find that niche because like Iliana said, it's just the ability to do things differently. And when you jump into that world and that child's eyes and that imagination, you're seeing things through their glass, right? Their eyes. And once you do that, you're going to see a lot of progress and you're going to celebrate those things. But, like she said, be patient because it's going to come. I promise. It's going to come. And there is differences on the spectrum, right? Iliana's on the lower end of the spectrum and there's some kids that are on the higher end of the spectrum. So it might take a little longer. It might be a little harder. But hey, like I said, I even have cousins in Puerto Rico that, their first language they learned was English because they love cartoons so much, the Animaniacs, they knew English. My aunt had no idea. She would call me like, "Can you tell me what they're saying?" And I would talk to them full-blown sentences in English. The most incredible and intelligent thing to do, and they did it. And then they learned Spanish. But it's things like that. You find their niche, it's just gonna fly. It's just gonna fly.
That's incredible.
So amazing stories with everybody. It's really great.
This is so incredible. Just getting incredible reactions to social media. Alicia, give us a tip. I think Miguel laid out a good framework, but just give people a tip in terms of if they're struggling to look for those those passions, those avenues to communicate to their child. Give people another practical tip.
Sure. It can be very basic. I know Miguel has taken it to a whole new level with their YouTube, channel. And, but it can be very simple. And Jennifer, I hope you don't mind this, but one of the things that I found with her son is that he loves letters. He loves the alphabet and he loves letters. So you can find ways to incorporate that into play and learning and singing and conversation and love and everything. And it can be something so simple as a toy, a toy that a child likes, or something that, we use the phrase stemming on things, something that they just perseverate on, or, that helps calm them. You can use that to get into their world and, become a part of it and go from there. It's a starting point. So it can be something very small or be something, and take it further the way Miguel has. And I would also, I also thought it was interesting when you were talking, Miguel, that isn't it interesting how your perception of success changes because the little things become huge, and that's the way it should be. It's okay. It's okay if it's one word and it's ball and it's not a full sentence. That feels just as good. So, enjoy those little things and look for the little things.
Jennifer, get back in this conversation. I mean, talk to me. I usually have all this stuff prepared. Mariela, I said this, I just want to give you all this platform to share because I know there's parents watching this, people glued to their phones right now. I know it, and they'll text me afterwards, and they'll connect with Mariela. They're already giving us great feedback. So just play up, just build off what Miguel and Alicia just discussed.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much emotion right now. Like I have a box of Kleenex nearby. I think I said this in Clubhouse, like when we had that, Latinos Do group, like I'm listening to everything that's being said here and I'm going, these are my people. These are the people that get it. And I want to surround myself. I want to go to your YouTube channel all the time. And I just want to, live in your world. And I, want to reach out to Maryanell, just as a mom. I think that it is. There's good days, and I also want to make sure that that's understood too. And I say Miss Alicia because that's how my son refers to her as. So Alicia has been there. She's seen the hard days, and she has let me have those emotions. And I think that just brings me to the point where having a support system is so necessary. And if you don't have that support system in, whether it's the therapist, your family. I mean, I was fortunate to have a mom and a sister that are educators. And I have an older sister who was, like a mom. And they were just with me through everything. And my dad you were talking about finding those things like, AJ started wanting to play this app with like a piano. And my dad went out and bought this huge keyboard and drums and should I get him a guitar? And I'm like, I love the enthusiasm. I was like, but and then he was just AJ was like, moving on to the next thing. But it was good to see because, we need that love and that support. And I just tell the parents now, if you can't find that where you live, go online. I mean, that's where I found my people again. And even though Miss Alicia's here, we have in North Carolina, I don't feel like there's a very good support system. It makes me very sad. And I hear people all the time commenting, North Carolina is the worst for support, specifically for autism. And you know what? I had planned on moving, and I keep saying, oh my gosh, we're going to leave. However, we need to make changes here. That's right. And even if it's a small change, I want to leave my legacy, if you will.
Quick comment from the boogie down, Edwin Martinez, a member of my wife's family. This is a great topic. Our children learn in all different ways. We just expand the ways they learn. I'm always breaking it down. I'm going to give people a chance to take a second. We're going to take a quick break, and then me and Maryanell are going to get back to some of the Bomba Live News headlines. And then we come back with this conversation. Alicia, I want to ask you about the politics of autism, because there's a lot of political, whether it's IEPs, school systems, how we even talk about this conversation. There's a lot of politics around it, and I want to get your thoughts on it. You're watching and listening to a very special edition of the Bomba Live Found Translation simulcast. It's a very emotional conversation, but a very empowering one, because I think a lot of us, even in our best moments, feel a little isolated. And I think at this moment, a lot of us aren't feeling that way. And we are, as you just said, Jennifer, part of a community that's going to be here to support each other. And in the case of Iliana in particular, and all the other children that are being discussed here today, just doing some incredible things, finding their superpowers in a lot of different and creative, exciting ways. We're going to take a break. Speaking of Bomba Live 2, we're going to see a clip from the first Bomba Live, in which freestyle legend and who's become one of Jennifer's besties, Betty D from Sweet Sensation, rocked the Bomba Live stage. She will be back as our primetime host for Bomba Live 2, June 12th, 2021. So let's get a clip of Betty and some other celebrities' appearances on the show last year. When we come back, Maryanell and I will get into a little Bomba Live news.
Thing is that freestyle was everything to me. My cousin Guido, who still lives in the Bronx, was the first one to introduce me and sneak me into the Copacabana. So it's kind of
kidding.
So yeah, I mean,
is that queso?
So Rosa,
it was the 80s.
Tell us about the Copa in the 80s.
No, actually, all I remember was dancing and always getting in trouble for breaking curfew. It's just what it is.
I can't explain what I'm going through. Wish I could find the right words to say. Losing control and it's over you. Nobody else can make me feel this way. Could it just be that I'm curious and I want to make you play my game? But something tells me that it's serious, because I go insane when I hear your name. I'm hooked on you, yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm hooked on you, yeah. What can I do? It's over you.
I tell you, nothing wrong with hanging out with some Bomba Live freestyle.
Oh my goodness!
Come on now, Maryanell, you're too young to remember that music. Let's be honest. You're just whatever the phrase is. But yeah, you're just doing it.
I you know what? I felt it. I don't remember the song, but I really felt her soul through that song.
Funky Bacalao, who's actually literally texting us. We have a very special announcement about our Boricua social media all-stars. They're going to have this performance at Bomba Live 2. It's going to be insane. But I told her about this. She goes, yeah, I kind of remember freestyle. My mom used to play it. I'm like, just
you know what? Was the mom that type of person that would just play that, like play it, Mi abuelita used to play like the oldies a las 8 de la mañana on a Saturday para limpiar la casa. Like people now clean their houses to reggaeton. I clean the house to like
all kinds of stuff. No, Puerto Ricans make music for la limpieza on Saturday. Y la compra. Yes. You know what I mean? Like putting your stuff away. Maryanell, we want to get back to this conversation about how autism is a superpower, and it's been such an empowering, emotional discussion with our panel. But we have a couple of news headlines. Puerto Ricans are making moves in all kinds of places.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's a historical week for Puerto Rico's future. The U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Natural Resources Office of Insular Affairs held a legislative hearing on the following two bills regarding Puerto Rico. The first bill is the H.R. 1522, Puerto Rico Statehood Admissions Act, and the H.R. 2070, which is the Puerto Rico Self-Determination Act of 2021. Puerto Rican Congresspeople Nidia Velázquez, Darren Soto, Puerto Rico's resident commissioner Jennifer Gonzalez, and other members testified for the merits of their respective bills that would either grant Puerto Rico statehood or create a decolonization process through committees comprised of Puerto Ricans. So what does this mean for Puerto Rico's future?
Well, there's a couple things. Let's put it in context. This is one of the very few moments historically that Congress has even addressed the issue with a hearing in this kind of substantive way. We're talking 123 years of colonization for the island of Puerto Rico and the United States, not counting Spain, which is all other hundreds of years of colonization. But, you know, people need to understand that regardless of how this will get resolved, and I think everyone agrees one way or another, this has to get resolved, regardless of what you think about the whole situation. And we all have our different opinions on it. But that, you know, when you talk about movements of something of this magnitude, you're talking about generational organizing that has to take place. So this is probably the beginning of, let's be honest about it, maybe a 10, 20 plus year process to ultimately, you know, get something done. I mean, you really think with this, with the Republicans in the Senate, anything around Puerto Rico is going to move. So let's be honest about it. But it is good that it's on the table.
Yes.
And again, I'm glad, and again, I have my own opinions about it, but I'm glad that our members of Congress have put this on the table and have enough political clout. We have a handful of Puerto Rican members of Congress from different political parties and from different parts of the country that have enough power, enough clout to at least get it on the table to get the conversation going. I think the reality is that Puerto Ricans, if you care about the status issue, regardless of how you feel about it, you need to get involved in it. And let's continue this conversation. I would say this in closing, that I would argue the bigger issues immediately and even long-term, you could argue, that affect the island, like the Promesa Board, the debt, and the Jones Act, which are really the mechanisms that choke the economy of the island and keep it in a permanent colonial economic status, regardless of it becomes a state. Because, by the way, fam, newsflash, you come to state tomorrow, you still get rid of the debt, you still get rid of the Jones Act. Alaska and Hawaii deal with those issues. That's why it's so expensive when you go to your vacations to Honolulu, fam, and your Alaskan cruises. So those issues, so the reality is that Puerto Ricans have to stay involved on all these conversations.
Absolutely.
So, Maryanell, I have a news headline for you. I know something very controversial, something that's caused a lot of anxiety, especially with our Latina women and our families. After much speculation, it's official. J-Lo and A-Rod are done. I know y'all are very sad about this.
So sad.
So talk to me. How do you feel about it?
Because, you know, you want to, you know, I was really cheering for her. She's been through
Talk
a lot.
about perseverance.
Well, you know what? Like, determination, right?
Yes.
I mean, she's been through a lot, and I was cheering for her. And I think in one of the interviews that I saw her speaking of her relationship, she expressed some things that resonate with me. It's like when you're looking for a partner, you know, you're looking for a connection, and she almost felt like they were soulmates. So, you know what? Like, what happened? You know, like, yeah, we understand, you know, through TMZ, you know, what is it? TMZ and other, you know, outlets, you know, what happened, but within them as two people, what happened that, you know, it started as soulmates and then it just went kaploom.
The question, Jennifer, is any man up for a Jennifer? I mean, that's really the bottom line, isn't it, Jennifer?
Oh, no.
Talk to me, Jen. Come on. I mean, come on. She has the biggest superstars in the world, and they can't hang. What's going on, Jennifer? What's your thoughts on this? You have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I do. She needs to be alone. She needs to just be alone and just be with her
my man
kids.
Miguel got thoughts on this situation.
We're conversation.
He got thoughts about it. I can see what's going on in the green room. I'll tell you something. Y'all are incredible. Let me. Speaking of that, I think you said it so well, Jen. Speaking of Puerto Ricans making moves, Miguel, one of the big tenets of Toy Quest 101 is the wonderful wild world of wrestling and the worlds of Puerto Rican superstardom, music, and wrestling have collided with our man Benito aka Bad Bunny, on the top rope at WrestleMania. Hold on. Let's get the picture. Look at my man up there. So let me ask you a question, brother Miguel. When you saw Benito on the top rope, bro, come on. Does it get any better than that?
Listen, we're talking about how Puerto Ricans have made history. Nobody has made a bigger history moment for Puerto Ricans than Bad Bunny, than on the biggest stage of them all at WrestleMania. All right? And let me tell you something, all right? For those who don't know.
Now you know.
A lot of people, a lot of celebrities have graced the squared circle, right? And they go in there and they just do it for show. And when you're in the locker room for these wrestlers, right, they appreciate people coming on, but they almost feel a little disrespected because they're not taking the sport seriously. Bad Bunny was in the training facility 5 hours a day because he wanted to make sure that what he did was not only out of respect for the wrestlers in the locker room and their business, but he did it to make sure that he looked great on camera. And let me tell you, he carried that match, right? He carried that match. And not only that, he sold more. He broke the record for selling more merchandise than any single WWE superstar in the history of the company. Bad Bunny did that. And there's wrestlers that went on national TV or on their social media and gave praise to Bad Bunny for respecting the sport and going into the back and taking time out of his busy schedule, because we know that man is busy. 5 hours a day he was training because he wanted to pay respect to what is the world of wrestling today. And I was beyond thrilled. Now, I have some friends who absolutely couldn't stand it, right? But we think, right, because we were going nuts. We were cheering. Let me tell you, my mom never comes over to watch wrestling. That was the first time she came to watch wrestling because Bad Bunny was on there.
It was phenomenal. And I know y'all are refreshing because you're trying to get tickets to Ultimo Tour del Mundo, which is going to be in 2022, which is already the biggest concert tour of all times.
Yes.
No, I have a brother that's a ticket broker, and he can't even hook me up. I mean, this is just unbelievable. Bad Bunny is taking over the world. That's definitely a bucket list moment when he comes on Bumble Live one day. But Miguel and Iliana, I need to put you on the green room because I need the ladies to sign off on something. Give me a second. Let's get Alicia back here. All right. It's very serious business. We have come to a decision that our panel here has to make. Bumble Live 2 is coming up on June 12th, 2021. The 10.5 hour Bumble Live extravaganza to celebrate the character, talent, and perseverance of the Puerto Rican community. Betty D is going to be the main host. I mean, the bevy of celebrities and stars. All of y'all going to be a part of it at some point. But I got two major announcements. One is we have developed an agreement with Philly Cam, which is the public access channel in Philadelphia. We're going to be broadcasting live from their television studios for Bomba Live too. So we're going to be a TV studio for Maryanell. How far is Allentown from downtown Philadelphia?
Not far enough.
Not far enough. So Maryanell, June 12th, please put it on your calendar and book the time for the travel because you are one of the hosts of Bomba Live 2. So you're going to need to but you have to come to the studio. That's the only requirement. So get your COVID shot. Get your hand sanitizer. Let's roll.
Let me tell you something about the COVID shot. I have to interject. So I was scheduled for it today, and then I was like, I don't feel good about it, so I canceled it. But now all of a sudden, I feel very good about it. So
you need to, you're under the clock.
I am definitely.
2 weeks after the second, unless you get the J&J, you better hurry up. You gotta go.
I'm not getting the J&J.
Let's get it started.
Okay,
but this is very important. But this is very important. We have a possible. Betty D going to be the female host of the show, of the primetime show. But we have to have a male. We're going to have a male host with her. Someone has come to the table to say they'll do it, but only if Maryanell, Jennifer, and Alicia approve. So I'm going to show you a picture of him, and I just want to let you know if it's okay with y'all if he hosts the show. I'm speaking about the actor J.W. Cortez from Power, from Gotham. So, ladies, is it okay if JW shows up for this event? Is that okay with you guys?
I'm getting my COVID shot.
I just want to make sure you're okay with that. Hold on. I just want to make sure. Hold on. Get another look. You okay? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Is it okay? Jennifer, you good?
Approved.
We're good.
Okay.
I'm stunned right now, so yeah.
JW, who we met on Club. JW, it's okay. They allow you to be on the show. So JW Cortez, the actor, philanthropist, has agreed to be on the show. What an incredible coup. Much respect to Betty D, who really is the person that made this happen. Let's be honest about it. But nevertheless, JW is a great guy, a philanthropist. He actually runs, I forget the name of his name, but Anyway, he does a lot of charity work in New York City and throughout the country. Very involved in Puerto Rico issues and politics. Very, very sharp political mind, that guy. Very sharp guy. And not bad to look at. At least that's what I hear. Approved. Everyone's approved. Okay, let's get back to the show. We're having a great conversation. We'll bring Miguel and Iliana back on in a second to talk about what's going on with Toy Quest 101. But Alicia, I want to talk for a second about the politics of autism. Because, there's been discussions around, there's a lot of politics as it relates to dealing with your children's school systems, IEP programs, a lot of lingo here. And then there's even the politics how we talk about autism. I've even seen debates online around what color to use. Purple, blue, autism awareness. I don't like that organization. I like this organization. So just where do we begin? Let's start with the school piece. So when you're trying to deal with the politics and the bureaucracy of your child's school, what's the first tip you would like to share with them? And I know Maryanell got a lot of thoughts on this too.
Well, so the first thing I would say, and let me just interject this also, that I have done a combination of early intervention and school-based. So I've worked with little ones from a few months old all the way up to 22 years old and older than that. So I know, part of the issue that happens is that when some kids are diagnosed very early, before age 3, they tend to get services more in the home, and then when they transition to school, the threshold for what qualifies for services or how services work in general changes a lot, but that isn't always explained to parents. So right off the bat, you enter school and there's a lot of mistrust, there's a lot of misunderstanding, and that is one issue. So one thing I would say is, it can be so overwhelming if you're starting out in that process and you're just entering the world of special education. Learn what you can before you start the process. I did find a resource online that is available in English and Spanish, and it's a resource for parents that are starting out. So I can provide that for you, Ray, and maybe we can link that. So learn what you can, ask around, but take it with a grain of salt, because everybody has their own experience, just like we've all been saying. Everybody has their own experience, good and bad. Everybody has an opinion. So ask around. Read what you can, do your research before you start. Once you start with the meetings, don't be afraid to ask questions, whether it's in the evaluation process or when you're in a meeting or when somebody gives you a form. A lot of times parents are afraid to ask questions. And especially if English is your second language, there are a lot of people who are very embarrassed to ask the question. And it's okay. Ask the questions. If you need a translator or an interpreter, ask for it. They have to provide it if you need it. So don't be afraid to ask for it. Take your time to make your decisions. I'm sorry, I know I'm doing more than one point, but take your time to make decisions. When you're going to have a meeting, when your child will be evaluated at some point. And we have a tendency, and when I say we, I mean the people who work for the school district, to do a report, and then we just rattle off all of the information at a meeting, because maybe this is our second or third meeting in a day. And a lot of people forget that for a parent, this might be your only meeting all year long, and you're hearing all of these, all this terminology and acronyms and everything for the first time. And so don't be afraid to ask for reports ahead of time. When I was a parent and my son had an IEP, I wanted reports ahead of time because I want to have time to read them and look over them. And if English is your first language, it's hard enough to understand them. But if that's not your first language, it's even harder. And if you need a translated copy, ask for that ahead of time so that they can be prepared for that. But again, take your time, look over the information. Don't be afraid to ask for some more time to look at it. The last thing I would say is take it all in, take in the information. Everybody's going to be giving you information. The school district, your friends, your family, the district is going to tell you all of the legal and all of the, things that they are obligated to do for you. Our society that we live in right now, it makes me sad in a way, because I think parents are there's a lot of guilt parent, parent shaming if you're not doing it right. So everybody has an opinion on how you should be doing it. And culturally, I will say, I'm Mexican, and, we like to share our opinions about how things should be done. So you've got family and friends and school district and everybody kind of giving you their advice. Take it all in. Go with your instincts. Trust your instincts. This is your child, and you have to go with what you feel is right ultimately. And you're right, Ray. There are so many organizations. There's, every organization is different. Same criteria. See what they stand for. See what their policies are. Look into it. Just because something claims to be supporting autism, autism awareness, autism acceptance, it may not be the group that you are in. You may not be in alignment with their policies or the way that they function. So make your own decisions. Don't do it just because everyone else is doing it or somebody tells you that's how it should be done.
Alicia, I think you've touched on everything that I wanted to kind of sort of, follow up with you. So I would like Jennifer to kind of give us an idea. Your child is 5. So what's been your experience with IEPs? And what do you feel after, Alicia gave us some pointers. What are some of the things that you could take with you? Or pointers that you could give to our audience?
Should I check out, Jennifer? Because, I'm in the reading.
No, see, luckily we have a wonderful, great communication, and that's why Alicia is part of our team. And I kind of what she said, after early intervention and even during early intervention, I realized right from the beginning that I had to speak up. And if I didn't think that, not that you're not a good therapist, not that you're not a good, support system, but if you're not matching up with my child, you have to go. If I don't feel comfortable, you have to go. If I'm having anxiety, that's it. Nobody's going to tell me any differently. I think in terms of, just making sure that it really is easy to say whether, you don't want to be afraid. I'm a very outspoken person, but for some reason I was definitely intimidated because this is new territory. But in the world of IEPs, I'm still brand spanking new. This is terrifying to me because right now we're in pre-K and I have a great support system. I feel like everything is going to change. The whole game is going to change right when we get to kindergarten. And we're actually going through the process right now of what kindergarten is going to look like. My son tomorrow is actually going to have this observation. And that it's terrifying to me because I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what kindergarten is going to look like. I don't know with the IEP. I think even for myself, if I have somebody there I think I know enough, a lot considering, but if I have somebody like my husband, my sister, my mom, if I have a second set of ears, whoever it is, or I'm taking a lot of notes, I have binders this big with just notes. So I can refer back to it later because IEP terrifies me, honestly.
Jennifer, can I just add in there too that I think if you can make a connection with somebody on your IEP team, it's such a good thing because they can answer questions, and if it's somebody you trust, you can ask questions that you might not be willing to ask in front of a group of people. And I will say that I care about my students, and I don't always agree with parents, and they don't always agree with me. But if we respect each other, we can come to agreements on things, and I think as long as we all come at it from the angle, and I know some people have had very bad experiences with school districts, and I've seen that from both sides of the table, that, but, if we can come at it with respect for each other, we can work things out. I really think that can happen.
Absolutely. Miguel, I'm very curious because Iliana is 13. Is she in 7th grade or 8th grade?
8th.
Iliana, what grade are you in?
8th.
You're 8th. Okay, so I think this is a point in an IEP transition when you're transitioning to high school. Have you had that? I know. Have you had that IEP conversation? And if you have not, because the IEP changes at that point. What are some of your thoughts about it?
So Jennifer, right? This is all part of the journey, right? Because that's just the first phase. You're gonna get to this part when they're going into transition to high school. And as a parent, for me, I'm freaking out. You know, I do MMA, I do other stuff. This scares me, right? As a parent, I'll never forget when she first got on a school bus, and I was the one who had to put her on there, and she drove away. And like the movie, she ran to the back of that bus, and she was crying. You know what I did? Parked right in front of that bus, got her off the bus, hugged her to death, called her mom. Like, I'm not doing this again. So it's part of the journey, right? And I think what you guys touched on is this is where you have to ask as much questions as you can. I'm not even allowed in most of these meetings because I ask a lot of questions, and and like you said, you have to make sure that you feel comfortable. And there's been times, very few times, because I'm in New Jersey. Her mom is now a teacher for special ed. My mom's a teacher. So we have a lot of support systems. But like I said in the beginning, when, I was 20, I had no idea, right? We had to educate ourselves. So these IEP meetings are sometimes a little frustrating because you sit there and you talk to a lot of people, but you are going to find special people that really care about your child. She has teachers that she had in third grade that still call her to this day to make sure she's okay or help her, Miss Carson, right? That the same way you're gonna find some bad apples, right? Sometimes lean on the people that care, because they're always gonna be a part of your child's journey. And although it's a scary moment, just know it'll be all right. Like this, they need to go through this to, mature and continue with their life. But I understand everybody's feelings, and trust me, I'm probably the most nervous out of all you guys when it comes to this, but yeah.
Unbelievable. As we wrap up the show, just want to go around the horn and give people an opportunity to share quickly, just either a way to contact them or just any final thoughts for our audience. This has been obviously a very impactful conversation on a lot of levels, the social media, the texts I'm getting. And I think, and I go back to sort of the journey in the relationship that me and Jennifer have had over the last few months, is that the step that Miguel and Iliana took and Maryanell took inspired me to step into this conversation, which a little bit inspired Jennifer to get out of her comfort zone in this conversation. And now the ripple effects of their leadership and all of y'all leadership is leading to just a lot more understanding. And I think a lot of people are not feeling so isolated the way they may have 45 minutes ago, to be honest. And that's, I think, one of the biggest messages that we get out of this, that when we do this content, this programming around autism, is that, wow, thank you, because I don't have a lot of spaces to have this conversation or ask these questions and just feel supported with our children and their superpowers. Let's start with you, Alicia. Any final words as an occupational therapist in this space? First of all, thank you for your leadership and your great advice throughout the show, but just any final thoughts you have with our community here.
One of the things that I'm starting to lean more now in my practice is working with adolescents, teenagers, and young adults that are transitioning out of school system, or maybe covering some of those skills that they just aren't able to meet in schools because they're so tied to the curriculum that they're required to teach. But our kids, once they turn 18 or 22, they leave school and they just kind of fall off of a cliff. I would like to work towards bridging those gaps, and then working on skills to foster more independence with our adults and young adults as they go off and hopefully continue their walk towards independence. So I think that's still important in that continuum. So
yes, and Alicia has a very distinct name. So if you just type Alicia Stufoso, you'll find it.
Yes, and I'm
Stufosos out there. That's pretty cool.
Yes, I'm getting active on all the different social media, so you can find me in most of those, and maybe we can put my email address also on. We can put that in the notes somewhere also, so people can see that.
No question, Jennifer Hutcheson, talk to me. Who knew 6 weeks ago you'd be on a podcast talking about this stuff?
I did not know, but I know the power of our communities. And Ray, this is where I start to get emotional, so I'm not gonna. But Ray, thank you again. This has just been so amazing, so uplifting. Maryanell, Miguel, Iliana, Alicia, you are my family now. Anything I can ever do for any of you, I am here. For those of you that are watching and listening, please just reach out to me. As Ray mentioned, we'll probably just put it in the notes, but email. I'm talking to a mom that I met on Clubhouse that had popped into the Latinos Do, and she is just starting this journey, and she has really nobody to connect with. Wow. So I don't think I'm necessarily an autism advocate. I was always a parent advocate for my son, but I really want to be an advocate for other people and for their kids. So if there's anything I can do, I'm here.
Maryanell, the whole underlying thing I'm doing here is to push you to have a show, to do this. You understand that's my agenda. I start you off with the co-host thing, because honestly, I wouldn't be able to do it justice. And I really, there needs to be 17 of these kind of programs. Let's be honest about it. I mean, the IEP thing, that could be a whole other, you get into hours of conversation, but no, I just, whatever I can do to help you, Jennifer, your journey and all of you, and I'm teasing that, Benny, I think she should do it. But we'll continue those conversations, Jennifer. Just all we can ask you is to continue to be you and show leadership. Thank you so much. Miguel and Iliana, I know, what's going on in the toy game? Give us some, I know y'all got big celebrities coming, big toy releases. Break it down for us. Come on.
Yeah, we do. But before I get into that, I just want to say you guys are all awesome. You're special, right? And the biggest thing from all this that I want everybody to get is that you're never alone, right? We got people like Alicia and that's the type of people that I was talking about. You got people who are caring and are special, go up to bat for our kids. And that's the type of person that we need more of. So thank you to her for coming on to the show and really going up to bat. And like she said, she's going to be doing things for kids when they get out of school. That's another part of the journey that we got to eventually deal with. So she's awesome.
And it's becoming a bigger population, because I got little cousins that are adults. They're out of college already. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as Toy Quest, man, we're still celebrating Autism Acceptance Month. Today we dropped the episode. You guys can go check it out on YouTube with the Spider-Gwen. It's $1,000 statue, very detailed, beautiful, off of the Spider-Man series or comic book line. Iliana showed the life-size child from Sideshow. You actually seeing it here first, because we're actually going to review this on May the 4th. We're going to do a whole episode on Baby Yoda. There's a life-size Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian.
Miguel, everyone's got a price, brother. Everyone's got a price. You know that, right? Everyone's got a price. I'm going to step out of my studio here, which is a walk-in closet. And you know what's going to happen? My 9-year-old's going to be like, yo, Pop, I thought that Baby Yoda, John. Don't they live? Come on.
Hey, I could send you a link. But
gotcha.
Yeah, our companies that collaborate with us and believe in what we're doing, they're awesome, and we're grateful to have them. So they sent us that based off of the show, and we're excited to review that when we open it up May the 4th. And like I said, you guys see that here, celebrating Star Wars Day. And Iliana, why don't you tell them where they can find us?
You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
That's right. All under Toy Quest 101. Our biggest platform is YouTube, so subscribe. If you want to support us, the biggest way is just to follow us on YouTube or any social media platform, right? Because the more following we get, the more things that more people we get to inspire, right? And then there's always going to be a show that you're going to like. You might not like all of them, but there's going to be always one that you're going to like. And like I said, we always have surprise celebrity guests. You're going to be next on Toy Quest 101.
No question about it. And, I'm just going to put it out here right now. Formally inviting you to return for Bomba Live 2. Y'all are going to be acknowledged for your leadership on there in a very special way. We're working out the details, but y'all going to be acknowledged in a real special way. Trust me. We're working on that. And, I just want to give you all flowers. I just want to give for a second, Iliana, of course, your leadership is historical. It's going to go big. But Miguel, I just want to give you love for man to man, brother. And I want to embarrass you as a guy because, look, this program, this platform, as much as anything, is to honor the women in our community as much as anything. To be honest about it, I do it to honor our moms and our families that we built. I mean, my mom literally came off the mountain. You know what I mean? So I could have a life like this opportunities. But brother, man, we don't honor the men in our community enough, like you, brother. That do it for real, do it from the heart. Don't look for headlines. and just are as authentic as they come. So I just want to thank you, brother, as a mentor and now a friend. And you know how much your family means to me, the whole clan down there. So just want to thank you. And we're getting, and other people on social media are also reiterating those remarks that, man, that's a good brother right there. We need to support him and that family. So Iliana, of course, we're going to keep following all y'all do. And I want to bring our friends here as we wrap up the show really quickly. Alicia and Jennifer. I want to thank everybody. Maryanell, I put Maryanell on the spot because I invited her there. So, by the way, you're going to co-host the show with me. So, Maryanell, how was it? It wasn't that bad. It was painless, wasn't it? It wasn't.
Gosh, it was amazing. I enjoyed it. I cried. I think the moment Jennifer said, "I got my box of Kleenex like right next to me,"
Who needs Netflix when you have this Bomba Life? You know what I'm saying? Maryanell,
it's very heartfelt. And I'm able to feel Miguel, I'm able to feel Iliana, I'm able to feel Alicia. So I just felt everybody, and there were tears of joy, there were tears of concern. Alicia, you brought a great point. I really want to highlight the fact that because I think there has to be awareness about that after school, after our kids are done with school, there's nothing else. There's really nothing else out there. And for you to, Alicia, for you to identify it and say, you know what, this is where they need me. Like we need you everywhere. We need more Alicias in the world. I want you to know that. But you've said this is where they need me, because there's definitely not enough. It definitely brings about you something special. So thank you for everything that you're doing for our children, for our adults. And I just really wanted to highlight that, because for me, Jennifer and Miguel, as we are raising our children, to me, there were moments throughout that were petrifying. Kindergarten, middle school, high school. And then for us now, Miguel, for you is high school. For you, Jennifer, is kindergarten. For me, is high school. But eventually it will be what happens after high school. Yeah. What are we going to do? How are our kids going to look like? I can't, even though I plan, okay, my and I have to speak it, because if you speak it into the universe, it'll come back to you. But my actual dream is to create a center for adults and youth in the spectrum, because we need those centers. We need a place for our children to come to and feel cared for, and get the occupational, the speech, the physical, get the swimming lessons. Iliana, my heart rejoiced when you said, when your dad said, she's very good at swimming. And because my son is very good at swimming too. And how do we create a space where we could highlight and build on our children and our future adult children's strength? So Alicia, thank you so much. Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your story. I am very much looking forward to connecting with you and just seeing your journey. Same thing with Alicia, Miguel, and Iliana. Very inspirational. Thank you so much for coming onto the show and for really sharing with the world, how Iliana found her niche. It really gives me hope. And at times, I think it's very important to highlight that hope leaves us. And there are times where we don't feel like there is any. And stories like yours, Miguel, stories like yours, Jennifer, and what you're doing, Alicia, are extremely inspirational. So thank you all for coming and joining the show.
So well said. And, when I started podcasting in 2013, I didn't know anyone that even listened to podcasts. I didn't meet anyone in person that ever knew how to podcast. I didn't know how to get it on iTunes. And there was so many nights through this 8-year journey. It'll be 8 years very soon. You all be invited for the anniversary show soon. And I said, why am I doing this? Why am I trying to figure out how to edit audio and post them on iTunes, and who's listening? And what's the point of this? And there's moments like this, and I realized, wow, it was absolutely, all of it was so well worth it. So thank you all so much. Thank you all, family, for watching and listening to the Bomba Life Found in Translation simulcast. Continue to follow these people, support all of our loved ones on the spectrum, because they got superpowers. And as parent advocates, even if you feel alone, you're not. And, there's a reason that you have this incredible responsibility. Keep an eye out for more wonderful announcements of Bomba Life 2, and have a great week.
Thank you.